Hi, this is Simply Wing Chun. Following on from the first and second section of Siu Nim Tao, I thought it would be wrong not to do the third section. So, quick recap. First section, slow, deliberate posture, awareness, breathing, relaxation, structural movement, centerline control, audio-visual inputs, lots of ingredients in the first section that basically set out the foundation of what you require. Through training of it deliberately and slowly over about 15-20 minutes, you develop elbow energy. Once you develop your elbow energy, we then go and look to the second section of fogging, inch energy, how you let out that energy, how you utilize it, where you put energy and acceleration on when you learn to switch off. And again, it's about utilizing short, sharp bursts of energy, so you're not committing something all the way through, but it's relaxed and relaxed and relaxed. What we then do is we take that and we take the gung lick of the first, the fogging of the second, and then we put those elements into our third section of Siu Nim Tao. And the third section basically is like it's like your Swiss Army knife. It's got your basic tools in, but now it's tools that have got purpose because they've got energy and release of energy. So obviously it starts off, e.g. Kim Yuma, if you were doing Siu Nim Tao all the way through, you'd have been in it all the way through. By this point you'd have done about 15 minutes in the first section. Second section, 3 to 4 minutes max, I would say. And now you're into the final section. The final section being your tool set. Everybody does Siu Nim Tao slightly different, okay? I'm not going to go into that because at the end of the day, it's a set of tools. Does it matter? I mean, I was taught Siu Nim Tao early on to go Tan, Jung, Ta, Gan, Tan, Hun Sao, and I don't do that anymore. I was taught later on that wasn't necessary. Is one way right and one way wrong? No, it's a tool set. If you understand what you're doing, if you understand how you're doing, if you understand what the way that it should be done, and the checklist and the pointers, and you know why you're doing it, then it's good. If you're just repeating, whether you do it one person's way or another person's way, becomes completely irrelevant because it becomes useless. So what's important is the content of what you do, not just the sequence of events. The sequence becomes slightly less important. Okay. Once I practiced my Siu Nim Tao to a high level, would it matter if I did the third section first, then I did the first section, then I did the second section? Really wouldn't matter. It's like learning the English alphabet from A to Z. Does it matter if I learn it from Z back to A? Okay? Or I learn it from O all the way through and back again? Does it matter the sequence? The truth is no. The reality is it makes it very difficult if I go to school, from school to school in my childhood, and they're all learning something in a different sequence. That makes life hard. So I tend to teach, well, I don't tend to, I do teach exactly the same, and I'm quite rigid on it. This is how I do Siu Nim Tao, but I do say it's my way. It's not another person's way. So sequence, not so important, so don't get wrapped up in that. Let's just talk about the structures. So the first thing we're going to do from here, Pak Sau. When you do a Pak Sau, some people will tell you it's parallel to the body, some tell you it's slightly going forward. Do you know what? It's an energy, it's a structure, it's a utilisation of gung lick and sung lick. That's not so important, depends on your build as much as anything else. So from here, the first thing I expect to see is the hand relaxed, relaxed, relax, and then snap. From here, I was then taught steal the centre line, the side palm. Do the Hun Sao. Notice when I'm doing the Hun Sao, I am not rotating the elbow. As I said in the first of the Siu Nim Tao, if you rotate the elbow, you're only working the shoulder. If you rotate the wrist without the elbow, it's all in the wrist, which is its purpose. And then relax, relax, then back. So Pak Sau, notice when I'm driving with the elbow, snapping the wrist, relax. Drive up the centre line, snapping in the wrist, then relax. And then I go Hun Sao. And then back. Tan Sau. First thing you have to do to form Tan Sau is to get the differential in height between the wrist and the elbow, because it's that has to travel forward to give body cover. So from here, Tan Sau. It's a straight line. The elbow is not on the centre line. If the elbow is on the centre line, there's a vulnerability. The elbow is in line with the shoulder and the wrist. It forms a straight line of deflection, which is what we want. So from here, Tan Sau. Gan Sau, diagonal cut. It's all about the triceps. Shorten the triceps, cut down. And it's in front of the leg. And then I corkscrew back to Tan Sau. From here, Hun Sao. Notice the differential in height. And notice as I Hun Sao, I drop the wrist, in this case parallel to the floor. I cut the palm in and I snap down to the floating rib before repeating Hun Sao. Tan Sau, Gan Sau, Tan Sau, Hun Sao, Wang Jern, Yun Sau. From here, the Bong Sau, lifting the elbow, keeping the wrist lower so you get forearm protection, pivoting at the wrist to drop it down, relaxing the wrist and then following the lines of the bones, Tok Sau, driving forward, Yun Sau back. Bong, Tan, Tok Sau, Yun Sau, back. Gan Sau, drives down, but then it becomes Tu Sau, freeing hand, push pull, push pull, push pull to 1, relax, 2, relax, 3, relax. Yun Sau slowly, draw back, and chill. So, why do I do it that way? What's the purpose of it? As opposed to, is it the right way or the wrong way? That's not relevant. So the first thing I'm learning to do, easy from the front, is the Pak Sau is an elbow driven, drive it forward, snap the wrist here. Why do we drive to the point of here? The reason why we drive to the shoulder is we're trying to define the hand working box. There is absolutely no point, forget turning and twisting, but there's absolutely no point in ever pushing my hand beyond the line of my own shoulder. As soon as I start doing this, I'm creating tension, compression, stretch, overextension of the arm. Why would I go past my shoulder out here to cover something that this would cover so much easier? So I would never go past that point. You know, turning or not, doesn't matter. I would never go past that point. If something's coming in from over here, I'm going to turn, I'm going to step, I'm going to do all the things. I'm talking about principles here. I wouldn't go outside my shoulder with this hand, I would use that hand. So never go past that point with this hand, never go past that point with that hand. Same thing applies, I would use this one, much easier. So all I'm doing is psychologically defining my hand working area. So I drive with the elbow, snap with the wrist, I stop. I've got an exposure, so I steal the centre line back. Okay? Yun Sau. I've seen this, I've seen this, and I'm not going to go into rights and wrongs. That's not what forms are about for me. It's about understanding the concepts and principles. If you've been taught to do that and you understand the concepts and principles well, good luck. That's exactly what you should be doing. If you were taught to do this, great. That's the way you were taught. I'm not trying to change your mind. I'm not telling you my way's right. I'm telling you why I do what I do. I drive to that point because that's the hand working box. I steal the centre line back because I want to steal it as fast as quickly as I can. I Yun Sau without rotating the elbow, so I want to train my wrist. And obviously we do both hands. The Tan Sau, it drives forward. So from here, it's about getting the forearm angle, because I'm never going to stand like this in a fight. I'd have my hands here anyway, so Tan Sau will always have a differential in height between the two. So I want to make sure I don't drive out stupidly and lift or drive out and press. That's no good to anybody. It's got to come forward, giving body cover all the way through. So Tan Sau comes out to here. I stop at my fist distance because that's my minimum distance. If my arm is back here, chances are that any momentum will carry it through. I may be forced in application against somebody with a big heavy hook to step further forward. That's fine. As long as I learn how to maintain my forearm angle, I've got a good elbow structure. So from here, there's my Tan Sau. In training, base of my heel of my palm is somewhere around my throat. No point in putting it flat because people don't tend in a fight tend to want to punch you in the stomach. They want to punch you in the head. So I tend to put my Tan Sau about here. That means I can adjust a little bit higher. I can adjust a little bit lower. My fingers are straight but not tense because I don't want to break them. If something does come through, the last thing I want to do is spade all the joints. And I tuck my thumb in because I don't want to break it. I took my thumb in because, as I discussed in the early stages, the large intestine point number 4, the Hoku point here, very important for structure and power. If you can't think of it like that, think of it 202 tendons. And if you can't think of it like that, think about the fact I'm probably going to put my thumb in your eye if you're trying to steal my daughter. So there's my Tan Sau. My Gan Sau, I don't circle. Okay, if you circle, it becomes a pivotal energy. Wing Chun has never done a pivotal energy. It's always elbow driven, elbow driven, elbow driven. So Gan Sau, it's pulling the elbow. Watch my elbow. Drag the elbow down. Pull with the elbow, and extending the arm at the same time. Turning the angle, the hand angle. So I'm cutting with the bone to here, because I don't know if I'm ever forced to use Gan Sau, whether I'm dealing with a straight punch, whether I'm dealing with an uppercut, or I'm dealing with a kick. Now, obviously, if it's a kick, I'm going to rely a lot on footwork to get out of the way. Best block in the world is to move, and it sticks to the Wing Chun adage, hands against hands, legs against legs. So if somebody's kicking me, I'm going to use my legs, but I'm going to use my legs maybe as footwork, not always just as a kick to counter. But if I am forced to use Gan Sau, and let's face it, you know, we can train to the ends of the earth and back and train forever and ever, and we all know that when somebody kicks, never put your hands down. Don't put your hand down, because their legs are so much more powerful, and the bones are stronger, the muscles are stronger, the momentum and the power. If they kick and you try and block with your hand, the chances are you're going to come off worse. We all know that. We also know that when we're stood facing somebody and they go and kick you in the bits, you know, you're naturally going to do that. It's just one of those things. I don't care how long you train, your brain will not go, oh yeah, but I'm going. We all know our hands will go down. But the key is that when it's coming into the power forces in this line, best block in the world, don't be there. Move out the way, reposition, and then when your hand goes down, it's covering, it's not blocking. Gan Sau therefore just comes down as a cover in that particular instance. Whereas if a punch is coming in, it can be used to cut down in, whether it's a hook or an uppercut, and drive it in, but it's got this pressing forward. It can't be pivotal. If it's pivotal, it's going to be weak. And I've seen people do it like this. And again, it's not a case of right or wrong, but my Wing Chun has to work for me. I'm not worried about if somebody else's Wing Chun works for them. If that works for somebody else, great. Good luck. I'm glad it does. For me personally, it creates a weakness. I've tried it this way, and then when a hook came in, I was relying purely upon tricep strength. And in a fight, the bigger and stronger will always win if you go strength versus strength. And I can't guarantee I'm going to be the bigger and the stronger. So I don't want to rely on that. So by going forward here, what I'm doing is I'm aligning the skeleton. So when force comes in, it goes up the skeleton to a much stronger anchor point. And I'm moving out the way at the same time. In the form, I cut in front of the thigh. When I turn, it's still in front of the thigh, but it hasn't gone with me. I don't take it with me, that just leaves a vulnerability. Blocking fresh air is no use to anybody. I want to cover me. So, as I turn, my Gan Sau goes forward. So from here, here's my Tan Sau, Gan Sau, cut to there. And then I corkscrew back to Tan Sau. So I go Tan, Gan, Tan. And then look at the difference in height. That's my body cover. That's what's protecting me against something. But when I do Hun Sau, if somebody's arm's here, and I've intercepted on the inside or outside for that matter, I can't do Hun Sau like that, because I would be effectively dragging the hand, which is here, through my forearm. That's not possible. What I have to do is I have to lower, cut inside, and then drive. So, Tan, Gan, Tan, Hun Sau, low Wang Jern. I could do Hun Sau here. I've always been shown and done it there. I've never not changed it. No reason to. Okay, but that's how I would do the next move. Bong Sau. I see people do Bong Sau this way. Okay, for me, problem is Bong Sau is an emergency move. My arms are low. I'm minding my own business, and something out the blue comes flying in here. Why on earth, when something's coming in and it's already set off, it's their movement, their reaction, their aggression, their force, their speed, their body language of them already setting off is the key for me to start. And yet I see people that I'm not, again, no rights or wrong, I'm talking about me. It's a selfish thing here. I could not make that work, because chances are it leaves a massive amount of body space. It's got an up and over action, which means it only gives body cover when it gets to completion, and that's no good for me. Somebody's coming in here, I want body cover. I want to react with the fastest thing possible, and if I can't bring my wrist all the way up, I'm going to lift my elbow, and I'm going to lift my elbow as fast as it's an instinct. Something comes, bang, it's an instinct. That's what I'm using it for. For me, Bong Sau is a response. It's a fast reaction. So as something comes in, there it is. I could not go that arcing movement. I don't see arcing movements anywhere else. I don't see why it should start in Bong Sau personally. So Bong Sau for me is about leaving the wrist low, lifting and forwarding and rotating. Obviously in a form you're not turning and deflecting and backing it up with another hand and all the rest, but as a basic tool, the thing I see, and I think partly, because some people when they stand like this, their Bong Sau will therefore go over, which is great, but where's the body cover? That's how I see it. That's my view. Where for me, you just relax and you cut forward. And the hand's nice and soft. When it finds something, the hand is soft. And the reason the hand is soft is because when two objects collide, force has to go somewhere. If they're both solid, they're going to bounce off. It's like taking a tennis ball and throwing it at a wall. It's going to bounce away. Okay? So if your hand is soft, when it intercepts, it goes all wobbly, and all that force of two objects colliding will always go down the weakest line. It will dissipate. If they're strong, the chance that's going to bounce it away. But that's not for me to say that's right or wrong. You want to go and practice with a partner, get their arm out really strong, really solid, and then try hitting it and see what happens with their arm. Do the same thing again, but this time, I'm going to try and do it to myself, this time, let your hand be really soft, and what you should find, it'll stick, because the force of interaction between the two objects dissipates down here. Not for me to say right and wrong, you try it, you tell me. So Bong Sau for me, lift and cover, forward and away, switch off the wrist because it does nothing, drive forward the elbow, debate, is that parallel, is that higher, should the elbow be higher? Personally, it's not about whether the elbow should be higher, should be lower and stuff like that. People get really, again, uptight about it. For me, when somebody once said to me the Bong Sau should never be higher than the shoulder, that's great, but look where my wrist is. How does that cover this against the punch? If I'm being attacked by a pygmy, great. If I'm being attacked by a pygmy, I'm going to put the hand out like that and they're going to get nowhere near me, so I'm not scared. What I need is something that protects my face. Most people hit the face. The only way I can get that to cover is to lift my elbow. Okay? So, is it weak? If I stand there and try and be stronger than they are, yeah, of course it is. But if I'm here and somebody starts to collapse it, first of all, I can control it through the elasticity of my triceps. And secondly, if they're stronger than me, I ain't going to stand there and go arm wrestling with them. I'm going to react. I'm going to move out of the way. Okay, because everything we do has got to be fluid. If you're static in a fixed point, you can take advantage of it quickly. So for me, there's my Bong Sau. What we then do is cover to Tan Sau, get the elbow down, just like you do in Chiu Sau. And then you've got this Tok Sau. And Tok Sau is about relaxing the hand, taking the line of those bones, and then just driving up and away. Wong, Tan, Tok Sau. And then I said the last one, the Tut Sau, the freeing hand. Gan Sau cuts down the centre line. It is on my centre line this time. Palm on top, and then I'm pushing and pulling. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Kun Sau. Notice I'm not going to take my elbow. So for me, that's how I do the third section of Siu Nim Tao. That's the pointers that I'm looking for, and that's the level of detail, or at least a kind of superficial level of detail. You can't talk about energy and you can't demonstrate, and when I'm solo and you are in a form, it's very hard to put some of the points across that I'd love to put across. But for me, that's what the Siu Nim Tao is all about. The third section is your Swiss Army knife. It's a set of tools that you open up and you go off and explore. Okay, and you open up your Swiss Army knife and you get this sort of saw thing and you go, that's really good, what am I going to do with it? Until you go off and explore how it works, what's it cut, what it doesn't cut, what it's designed for, what it's not designed for, then you're never going to fully understand it. So learning Siu Nim Tao in isolation is great. It's a toolkit, fantastic. You've done your gung lick, you've done your elbow energy, you've done your farging, you've done your release, you've done your third section with all the techniques. And I'm sure there's a real fancy Chinese name for the third section, but you know, you might not have noticed, but I'm not Chinese, so forgive me for that one. But the reality is that you've just got yourself all the tools that you need. You've now got to go out in the big wide world and explore it. First of all, safely. Well, I would suggest safely. But you start off with a compliant partner, because if you're busy trying to learn your skills, a non-compliant partner just completely confuses you. Every time you try and do a bong lap, they punch and you try and do a bong lap, and every time you do a lap side, they move out of the way. You're never going to feel what it's like to pull. You're never going to feel like to intercept energy. You're never going to feel like to find resistance. You know, at the same time as if they're there and they know you're going to lap side, so they resist it, you're never going to feel what it's like to do the technique. You need a compliant partner. Let yourself develop. Let them. I would always say to you, take your Siu Nim Tao tools, Chun Kuen BUG tools for that matter as well, your Chiu Sau tools. Drill with a compliant partner that will let you do it without just completely doing nothing, but will let you do it until your skill is good. And when you've got good skill, then you train with a non-compliant partner, because then you need to know if it works. When you learn with the training with a compliant partner, you're learning how it works, and the two are different. There's always this argument that people say, oh, you should never train with a compliant partner. If you're learning, yes you do. If you're trying to deploy it properly, no you don't. And the two are two different learning arenas, and you have to understand that. So Siu Nim Tao is going to give you your tool set. It's just a corner of quite a big jigsaw. But with that corner in place, you are in a place to go and explore. I'll just reiterate once more, that's my Siu Nim Tao. It's not necessarily everybody else's Siu Nim Tao. You don't have to agree. So don't look at the move and the sequence I've discussed, but have a think about some of the principles that are behind the sequence. And you might agree with them, you might not, you don't have to. I'm sharing my Siu Nim Tao at this moment in time because I want to be able to put it down there for my students. I've recorded this predominantly for my own students, people training with us. I'm not recording it for people that are not trained with us because they will have their own ways. If you get something good out of it, really pleased. If you don't agree with it, it's your prerogative. You know, you don't have to agree with it. I'm not expecting you to agree with it. And what I'm looking for is I'm hoping you've got an open up in mind to look for the bits that are in there that are useful and take them, and the bits that you don't agree with, adapt it. Because the way that the principles I've talked about will fit into any sequence and any level of understanding if you're willing to learn and listen. And that's what we all are. We're all students, we're all on the same road, we're all going in the same direction, we've all got the same goals, so sharing is good. Okay, thanks for your time.